Nowadays, rap has become one of the most streamable forms of music in the industry. But the real question is where did it all come from? Where did rap start? And what are the most influential rappers and their albums to ever come out? So I want to know, where did these new artists get their real inspiration from? And today we're going to deep dive into what were the most influential albums to come to rap. And at the end of the video, I'm going to let you guys know what you guys voted on being the most influential album. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Maybe grab a snack or two. And this will be in no specific order, as I cannot choose between all of these on what I think is the most influential. So there is no order. Up first, we got Wu-Tang's Enter the Wu, 36 Chambers. And honestly, I think we can all undoubtedly decide that this is their most recognizable album and definitely their most influential. Now, Wu-Tang has been so influential over the years, so to not have them on this list would be criminal. However, this album has done so much for not only the African American community and shine light on the traumatic experience that they have, but also it does it in a humoristic and charismatic way. So it brought some light onto something that was a really deep and serious topic, but didn't make it feel so deep and heavy, making people all around the world appreciate and love the music. This album really was the blueprint to hardcore hip-hop and has inspired so many of our classic rap songs, and is still regarded as one of the best rap albums of all time and is constantly put on top 10 lists. Now, we've seen this album influence the likes of Jay-Z, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Nas, Biggie, and of course Mobb Deep. Now, my 3 favorite songs from this album and 3 songs that I recommend from this album if you haven't heard it already is Bring the Ruckus, Cream, and Protect Your Neck. Okay, and there are phenomenal songs besides this one, so I definitely recommend checking out the entire thing. However, these are probably my 3 favorite from that album. Now, moving on, next we have Illmatic by Nas, which to me might be the best rap album to ever come out of hip-hop. But that's besides the point, because my opinion is not what we're going based off of today. We're going based off of what is the most influential and who has Nas influenced over the years with this album. Why I think this album was so influential was because it brought a new style of lyricism and it revolutionized New York rap. Illmatic touched all of our lives with its authentic storytelling and lyrical depth. And besides Biggie, there hasn't been a bigger influence to come out of New York when it comes to hip-hop and rap. I mean, there's Jay-Z, but we're not talking about him today, so who cares? Let's just move on. Most notable influence were Kanye, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Mobb Deep, and even Eminem. My 3 songs from Illmatic that I would recommend to someone are Life's a Bitch, NY State of Mind, and It Ain't Hard to Tell. Now, personally, these are my 3 favorite and what I would listen to the most when I'm listening to this album. However, again, with all these albums on this list, you have to listen to the whole thing because there are so many different songs and the storytelling is phenomenal. Listening to All Eyes on Me makes you really understand why this album is so high on everybody's list, and how come Tupac was considered one of the best rappers to ever touch the rap game. You also won't find a single person who doesn't know about Tupac or about this album, because that's how much impact that he had, and that's how much impact that this album had. It was honestly considered to be one of the most influential albums of all time, and that's not a statement, that's not an opinion, that's a fact, and you can search it up. Just joking, don't fact check me. He changed people's view on rap by using his own personal life and also taking the whole idea of gangster rap and taking the hardcore rap that we knew from Wu-Tang Clan and other rappers at that time and expanding on it by using his own personal trauma and going into his own personal stories with this, making some of the best storytelling to ever come out of the game. It was so emotionally impactful, and it also brought an almost activismistic, I have no idea what that word is. We're just going to move past it, but you know what I mean. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Tupac created a whole new genre of rap and created this poetic activism through his music. And with this album, you could really see how much trauma and how deep it really was for him. How his normal life was also being impacted by his gangster life and the struggles that he dealt with on both ends. This album was him also addressing his emotions in a more impactful way than other artists. And it really opened the eyes up to the genre that we can have rappers talk to us emotionally through their music, and it wasn't considered lame or wussy or whatever because it was Tupac doing it, and because of his street cred, no one could actually say anything about it. And if you don't believe me, just go listen to the song Hit 'Em Up, because this guy really came at Biggie and Puffy so hard, and we're still looking at it as one of the best rap beefs ever and one of the best rap diss tracks ever as well. Pac had a huge influence, but most notably, he influenced Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, Nas, J. Cole, and the whole frickin' industry. The 3 songs that I picked for All Eyes on Me were, of course, All Eyes on Me, All About You, and Ambition as a Rider. Now, we did Tupac, so of course we're gonna have to do Biggie, and with Biggie, it's a little bit easier. He had less albums than Pac before he died. The album Ready to Die. This is no slacker album in this genre. This is definitely one of the most influential rap albums of all time, and is right there with Pac's All Eyes on Me. Biggie is arguably the best storyteller when it comes to rap, and it's because of his immersivity and how it feels when you listen to his music. It really does feel like he's not telling you a story, but you're actually there for the story, and you're paying attention through the lens of Biggie. Now with Biggie, we had a lot of notable influences as well, like J. Cole, Jay-Z, Junior Mafia, Ja Rule, 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, and of course Rick Ross. Man even looks like him a little bit. No, I'm just joking. It wasn't a race joke. It was a fat joke. Okay, promise. It was not about. Never mind. The 3 songs that I picked for Ready to Die were Juicy, Big Papa, and of course, Give Me the Loot. Finally, we have Dr. Dre's 2001 album. Now, the reason I want to talk about this one last is because I think the influence that it had on the industry is different than the others. For example, the other ones had an impact somewhat like they created a fantastic story that resonated with people, and therefore connected with a lot of young people who then became fantastic artists and spoke about it in ways that reflected their influences. But Dr. Dre's was a little bit different because not only was he a rapper, but he's also a producer. So the way that he made music was completely different than everyone else and was already one of the best producers at the time, but he's also showing his rap capabilities with this album, and it just goes to show why Dr. Dre was also underrated and one of the best to ever touch the mic. A little backstory for you. Dr. Dre had just recently left the record label Death Row, which he helped create and build, FYI. Dre lost all his previous records and was now on his own, and with a lot of eyes on him watching on whether or not he would fail, and a lot of them praying that he would, there was really no room for failure. Dr. Dre's first big move that everyone doubted was him signing Eminem, and shortly after that he created the album 2001, which was released in 1999, go figure. Dre brought the same energy he had for the album The Chronic, which was a huge hit, and brought it to the album 2001, and no one thought that he could replicate that energy. But on top of that, he also brought a new artist that no one had ever heard of that brought an extreme talent to the game, and of course you know him as Eminem. While he was doing all this, he was also on his own. That's right, no record. He was doing it back in the basement type stuff. You know what I mean? Like he was back in the game grinding it like he was when he was producing NWA music. And so you got both the hardcore Dr. Dre that we know and love, and you also got the same type of album as The Chronic. What else could you ask for at the time? Because of that decision and the record being so good, it led to the success of the Aftermath record label. And as you know, today has signed many of our new talented artists, also creating its own subdivision of Shady Records with 50 Cent and Kendrick Lamar also being in the same group of family tree. Basically, when you think of heavy hitter rappers, I'm sure a lot of the artists that you think about come from this record label or at least surrounded by it. Now, if you don't consider that influential, I really don't know what you would. Dr. Dre was a huge influence to Compton, as well as Eminem, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Kendrick Lamar, and The Game. The 3 songs that I have for this album was Forgot About Dre, Still Dre, and The Next Episode. But honestly, the entire album was good. Like every single album on this list, I promise you, you will not regret it, especially if you like old head music. So I did polls on both my YouTube and Instagram on which albums were more influential, and I just want to share what the results were right here. So these are the albums on YouTube that you guys thought were the most influential. I couldn't do all 5. YouTube doesn't allow it for some reason. It only goes up to 4, so I just did these 3. And then on Instagram, I did a little bit of a different format, but these were the ones that you guys believed were more influential between the 2 on each post. And if you guys did want to be a part of the polls, please keep an eye out on YouTube and check my posts regularly because I will be doing more polls going forward, and follow my Instagram right here as I will do polls on my stories in the future. All these artists inspired so many new talented artists that we've gotten, like Kendrick and J. Cole. And Kendrick honestly has some of the best albums to come out of hip-hop and a huge discography of classics. But if you're wondering what Kendrick Lamar's best album is, honestly, I'd go check out this video right here where I break it down on what I think his best album is. And if you're wondering what's the newest with J. Cole, go check out this video down here where I talk about him and what's been going on with his life recently. Otherwise, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.